And can you see my screen, Randy?
Yes, I can.
All right. Today, so as Randy said, we're going to talk about PLCSIM. So PLCSIM is a tool that works along with TI Portal. For those of you that are not familiar with TI Portal, this is the software, what it looks and feels like. You've got a project tree here on the left, work area in the middle here, and what they call a task card section on the right side here. And so what I've got here is just a simple little system programmed up. I've got some real simple code here in a function block, and then I'm calling that function block a couple of times within a function. So what we can do with PLCSIM, it's actually part of your Step 7 of basic or professional licenses. You can use it with either one. What it can do is kind of based on your Step 7 license. So if you have Step 7 basic, you'll only be able to simulate 1,200 PLCs, and if you have Step 7 professional, you'll be able to do both 1,200 and 1,500 PLCs. It is a separate install, so a lot of people kind of miss it in initial install, but it's very handy, and if you aren't using it, I highly encourage you to get that installed and give it a try. So what I do is I just click on my PLC here, and this little icon up here is Start Simulation. So it'll pop up, and when you do this, it does kind of shut off your external communications outside of the system. And so you're working entirely within your computer at this time in the simulation mode. It takes a little bit to start up. Sometimes you will get some different pop-ups as far as if you've run PLCSIM recently and shut it down and restarting it. You get a little different series of pop-ups here, but it's very similar to actually loading a real PLC once it's up. So here you can see right now it says unconfigured PLC. It knows that we're going to simulate a 1500 based on what I clicked on before I clicked on the simulate button. So I come here and I click load, and just like with a real PLC, it loads that program into our simulated PLC. From here, I can click start module like I would with a standard PLC, but I also have the option to just come over here and click on this run button once it's loaded on there. You see now it actually says PLC1, so it matches up with what we have in our project tree. And I'm just going to move this over to the side. The PLCSIM, when it's in this compact form like this, there's two views for it, compact and project view. This is called the compact view here. This will kind of just stay on top of whatever you have. So if you want to get it out of the way completely, you do have to minimize it. But you can see I can come into my project here and click around, and it does not go away. It still kind of hovers over the top. So I'm going to go ahead and go online with this just like I would with a real PLC. You can see I'm getting my orange bars to start coming across. For those of you not familiar with Portal, orange within Portal tells us that we are online. The green here is actually our power passing that you would see in a lot of other PLC programming softwares. And so from here, I can monitor my logic just like I would on a real PLC. One thing I can do is I can come in here, and so here I have a real world input, I2.1, and then I have some tags that I'm using in my HMI. If I click on this real world input and try and modify it to a 1, you'll see nothing happens. So we're not able to just force that. If we wanted to turn this on from within Portal, we'd have to actually put that tag in a force table to do that. With my HMI tags, you'll see here, I'm able to go ahead and force that on. You see that my power is passing all the way through. So that's, again, very, very similar to a real PLC. I can go ahead and turn that off again. So these are the same things you would do online. What we can do, though, is we can actually come over here. So this little icon up in the corner underneath the X, when I hover over it, you see it says switch to project view. And being completely honest with you, I used PLCSIM for probably 4 or 5 years before I realized there was another view. A lot of people don't realize that you can expand this and get a lot more functionality out of PLCSIM than what we're used to using just in the simple everyday stuff. And so when you're opening this up, it comes up in this larger view. And right now it's still just like it was before in the compact view. We don't have any additional functionality at this time. So what I actually have to do is I have to open it as a project, give it a name. I'm just going to give it something that I know I can get rid of and clean off my system later, because this is just for demo purposes. But if you're in a project where you're kind of having an ongoing testing phase that you're doing, you might want to give that a name that makes sense to you, maintain that project a little bit. As we go through this, you'll see there are some things that you can kind of save separate from the program that you maybe want to bring back in to the program, things like that. We'll go over some of that functionality. But you see here, while this is opening, very similar look and feel to Portal, right? We have a project tree on the left, we have a work area in the middle, and we have kind of a task card section over here. That task card just happens to only be our controls for the PLC itself, our ability to click stop and run and do a reset on it, things like that. So as we open this up, you'll see that we're getting some different things along the side here, and that'll give us a lot of different capabilities. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to open this device configuration. I'll just maximize this for a little bit. So you see here, here's our main rack PLC. I can click on these I/O cards, and you'll see I get the addresses that are assigned to those cards show up here. If I had configured tag names, those would also show up here as I click on the other card. But we can also go and see our remote I/O that I have in this project. And these I do happen to have programs. So you see here, we get those to show up. I'm going to minimize this task card, and then I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so that we can see my portal running behind. So we've got this start button here, and I can come over here and I can just check this checkbox here, and you see there that actually turned my input on. So instead of going to a force table and creating something that stays forced in my program, I can just come in here to PLCSIM and I can turn these things off and on. You can see here right now that block is still running due to the logic that's inside it. I click on my stop, and there I went, and I was able to stop that logic. So real simple way to click on the different cards on your inputs. If I go and click on one of the other cards that has outputs, you'll see these boxes are all grayed out. I can't check on those because those are actual outputs. They're going to be run by my program itself in the simulation mode. So from there, we're going to go ahead and open up a sim table. You can see here they have one kind of pre-started for you. You can actually add new ones. You can name them just like you would different variables in your project tree there. I can come into this name section and I can start typing. And you see there, it's auto sorting through the tags that already exist in my program. So it knows what tags are there, and it'll let me select that, get that to come up. But what I can also do is this little icon up here, load project tags. When I click that, it's going to pull in all the tags from my project. Now, this is a pretty simple project that I've got here, so the tag list isn't too overwhelming. But as you get into more complicated projects, that's going to be a very long list when you pull everything in. So you've got import and export capabilities here. So you can actually create some different tag lists, add different sim tables, and kind of get things down to, just a specific set of things that you want to test in a different environment. So I'm going to find this start button here. And you notice now in this tag list, when I click on actual real world inputs, I get this button that shows up on the bottom. If I click on these other ones, it's still there. If I would go up here and click on one of my HMI tags, you'll see that goes away. So when I click on this, I can come down here, and it's just a momentary button. So as long as I hold it down, that button stays on. As soon as I let off, it goes away. I go to the stop button, stop it again. Again, as long as I hold it, that stays there. So pretty nice, pretty easy to use there. There are also little check boxes over here, and I think I need to, so this modify all selected values, I do need to turn that on if I'm going to use these little check boxes. So I can actually check that box, and then you can see it comes on and stays on. So if you need for that to be a maintained type of function while you're testing your program, you can come here. If you just want to do a momentary, you can just use the button. I'm going to go ahead and stop that again. Also, like when I get into my HMI tags, if I click on the system start here, you'll see I don't have that button like I mentioned, but I can come in and click the checkbox and do different things like that. So going on, we also have sequences. If I can get this to open up for me here. Before I get that going too far into sequences, I'm going to come back over here, and one of the great things about having PLCSIM on your computer, your development computer, is not only can you simulate your logic and test a lot of your logic, you can also simulate your HMI and test your interconnection between your HMI and your PLC. So, you know, one of the examples I like to use for this is you're on a job startup, you go back to your hotel room for the night, and you need to same thing, just come here and open up your simulation. But you go back to the hotel room and you need to make some changes to your HMI, you make some changes to your PLC code, you want to make sure they all work together before you get back to the plant in the morning. It's very easy to go through and test out that connection, see everything working together. Excuse me. And saves you a lot of time. You don't have to have hardware sitting in your hotel room to test. So this is just, like I said, very simple system. If I click on my start button here, you'll see that this goes green. These are showing green based on the output of those function blocks that I showed earlier. But the function blocks for the conveyor and for the hopper up here will not actually go green until they see the real world input, that I value. So when we want to do something like that, we can come back to our PLCSIM into the sequence here, and you can start immediately when you click play, because you have play and pause and stop buttons up here once you have a sequence. And again, this is something where you can import a large list of tags if you need to. So I'm going to go on a trigger condition. And I'm going to actually use my HMI tags. So I want my HMI tags here, and I want to use that system start. So when I go back to my HMI and I click on that start, and that goes true, I want a list of sequence things here to start happening. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to put in my grinder tag to verify that's running. I'm going to come down here, add my conveyor tag, and my hopper tag. You can actually come up here and put set intervals between things. With a short list like this, I'm just going to come in here. I want that grinder running tag to come on almost immediately with my system start. But I'm going to go ahead and put a 5-second delay on these other two tags, just to kind of match some of the timing that we have going in the program. And then I'm going to want these to turn true. Oops. And you can also do drag and drop functionality in here to make those all true. And so now I have my little sequence here, very little. Like I said, you can, if you have a long, complex process that you're trying to simulate, you can actually come in here and put a very long process in here, then export that value or that table into an Excel spreadsheet, possibly add stuff to it in Excel, import it back in, whatever you need to do. You have a lot of functionality there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this. And you can see here, it's kind of paused there waiting for some action. So we'll come over here, we'll hit start, and we should get this to start going through. Try and pull this up over the top of it. You can see there, our conveyor turned on and our hopper turned on as well. Now that we've seen those start and we tested that functionality, if I go here and I click stop, in about 5 seconds, this conveyor is going to come on again, and 5 to 10 seconds. And that's due to the fact that it turned those IO on. And so if we come back in here and we go back to our SIM table, we're going to actually see these IO points are on. And that's just a function of the actual sequence that we ran. It does not go back and turn those off unless you actually program those to turn off. So I'm just going to come in here, click those off manually, come back, stop my sequence, and now we should be good with that. One last thing that we have in here is called event tables. And this has got a few different things in here you can do. But one of the nice things that's kind of cool is you can actually test some hardware diagnostics. I can come in here, I can simulate pulling a module. I can search through here to see which module I want to simulate pulling. I'm going to pick that remote IO input module that we've been working with. And then I need to check this little box here to test it, and then go ahead and trigger that. And you can see here, we went red here. I didn't point it out before, but we were all green on that before. From my HMI screen, I can actually come into my diagnostic screen, and I can drill down into that. I can select where my errors are showing up and drill all the way down, and it actually shows me that this module has a problem. So I can verify what the problem is. I can come back over here. I can simulate plugging that module back in. And as soon as I click the button, all my errors go away on my HMI. So that was very quick. I do apologize for how quick it was, but we just kind of wanted to give you an idea of some of the different functionality that you can do in PLCSIM itself, and just kind of get you a flavor for what this expanded project view actually is. Like I said, I went for years without even realizing this was here, and I think a lot of other people out there are probably in the same boat. And I do want to mention that we actually have a class that I'll be teaching next Thursday on the 15th, where we can give you guys a hands-on chance to do a lot of the basic things that I was just doing here, and work with Portal and with PLCSIM, and kind of, you know, get a feeling for what you can do with it. With that, I'll hand it back to Randy and Deirdre for any questions.